Welcome back. Across France, there have been calls for a return to order and an end to the wave of violence which started sweeping the country last Tuesday when a teenager was fatally shot by a policeman. Today's calls for an end to the unrest come from the country's mayors, who have expressed their collective outrage at the violent attack on the home of the mayor of a Paris suburb. Well, the Interior Minister says that since last Tuesday, more than 3,000 people have been arrested. Well, the unrest appears to be easing, but even so, bus and tram services in the Paris region are suspended from 9 p.m. onwards this evening. And there you can see mayors taking part in a show of solidarity with the mayor who was targeted in Sunday's violence, in the early hours of Sunday morning. Let's get some more analysis. I'm joined here in the studio by Richard Verly, who is the France correspondent for the Swiss newspaper Blick. Welcome back to France 24.
Good evening.
Thank you for coming to see us once again. Does it look to you like the situation is now coming under control?
Coming under control, I think it's too early to say, but for the moment, the feedback we got either from the mayors, from the suburbs, from the police, apparently it's getting quiet. It's getting quiet also because the police has adapted after many days of riots. They are protecting offices, shops. They have been deployed in a more efficient way. And in specific city like Lyon or Marseille, you have the elite police unit like the RAID or the GIGN who has been put there on alert. And those units scare off the rioters, it seems.
You've been following this story, obviously, for the last 7 days, as have I. What strikes you about who's taking to the streets? What are your conclusions at this stage?
Well, my latest encounter, I would say, with the rioters was yesterday. On Sunday, I was at the Palais de Justice in Nanterre. I was at the tribunal, at the court, because you had these young rioters being put to court. And I was impressed by two things. First of all, how judges are trying to, put and give the appropriate penalty to those rioters. It's very difficult in a moment of chaos when you try to go by the law. So I think it's important to remind everyone that the state, the law and order is still in place. Secondly, as far as the rioters are concerned, many of them, the ones who were talking to the judges yesterday, they were explaining that they had no specific reason to target this specific shop or this car, to burn this car. They just wanted to express anger. And what strikes me is now the fact that you loot, the fact that you destroy, the fact that you put fire on something is considered rather benign. And that is the problem.
What's been the scale of the damage, would you say, to France and France's reputation internationally?
Well, when you know that President Macron had to cancel a state visit to Germany, then you have the answer. I mean, Germany being France's most important partner, we always talk, including here in France 24, about the French-German tandem, the French-German couple. Well, Macron has had to cancel this visit. I think it's really symbolic, especially if you keep in mind that few weeks before, the state visit of King Charles, had to be cancelled also because of the social battle on the pension reform. So I think it's a diplomatic defeat for Emmanuel Macron. If you look at the headlines of the international press, everybody is worried about France. Everybody is worried about this climate of unrest. When you have a president which is so keen on attracting foreign investor, it's clearly a harm and a difficult time for him.
And when, just going back to the people who are taking to the streets and protesting and who've, some of them, as you said, appeared in court already, what sort of charges are they facing at this stage?
You have two different type of cases. You have the one who are sent directly to court because they have been caught by the police and they are being sent to court. And most of the time they are being sent to court with two charges, either degrading public property, so attacking public property, or regrouping with the intention of making harm, of making trouble. So the problem is that the type of penalty you give for those two charges are rather low. You can, at maximum, get into jail for 6 months, and most of the time you don't go into jail. So you have a discrepancy between the level of destruction, what you see on the TV, and the reality of the penalty given to some of the individuals, because keep in mind that the judge has to take into account not only what the police says, but also the proof, with the evidence. And most of the times, the evidence are very shallow.
And the Interior Minister says the average age of a person who's been taken into custody has only been 17, which means they are technically still minors.
Yes, I didn't see any minor myself yesterday in Nanterre Tribunal, because for the minors it's another channel, another judiciary channel. The minors are not directly sent to the court. So I saw only adults. But it is very true that on Thursday night, when I was in Montreuil and Aubervilliers, those two cities, suburbs east of Paris, I could see many minors destroying shops, looting, putting fire to cars. It was obvious that those kids were not over 18 years old. Now, is it something new? I would say no. It's been very well known that in the suburbs, in the quartier, as they say in France, a number of minors are now involved into, I would say, illegal act. So it's no surprise that when a riot time comes, they are there in the streets.
Okay, well, thank you very much for sharing that with us. Richard Verly, France correspondent for the Swiss newspaper Blick. Thank you very much indeed.